Hey ratbags, it's Jade today giving you a lowdown on Return to Moria, Lord of the Rings survival game that came out last year on PlayStation and PC, but not Xbox. It was kinda lacking, didn't really feel like a full game, and they admitted so when they had a roadmap filled with features they were going to add, including eventually crossplay for when Xbox did release. Well, guess what? Good news, it's about to release very soon, all of a sudden actually on August the 27th. This is much earlier than anticipated. They originally had it earmarked at the start of the year. Then obviously they got delayed and said nope, it would actually happen at the end of the year now, the Xbox release. But August is pretty soon compared to maybe wait until November or December. This is great stuff and it's going to have a bunch of stuff with it, with the launch. Let's go over it. Let me talk about what I think Return to Moria was like when I played it and take a look at some of the updates that hopefully made it a bit better, including brand new sandbox mode. And guys, if you're here for survival news, please leave a like, show the appreciation, let me get some content out there that isn't just 7 Days to Die or one game only. Let's share the love, let's get my channel back to basics, giving you the lowdown on all the survival news. So please hit like if you find it useful. Let's go. So Free Range Games and publisher North Beach Games have pretty much announced, yep, it's going to be going live on August 27th on Xbox Series X and S as well as Steam. That's something that maybe I should have mentioned as well. This was an Epic Games exclusive, hence why it didn't really make a massive impact as well as it could. Every game that's released on Epic in the last few years just hasn't got the numbers. And although I haven't got a problem, I don't care about if it's on Epic or not normally. To me, it's just downloading another app. But for some players, it is a huge impact. When Satisfactory moved over from Epic and launched on Steam eventually, it did massive numbers. And previous games that have been Epic exclusives launching on Steam have done really well. There's no doubt about it, some of you guys are just willing to wait. Not to mention the fact that, yeah, Return to Moria kind of felt like an early access title, but instead it was being sold at not a full price, but I would say a relatively expensive game price for something that was kind of half done. Well, part of the update that's coming on August the 27th is called the Golden Update. It's going to have the crossplay between all platforms, sandbox mode, and other content and features. And it's going to be launching at only $20 for a limited time. And it says here on Steam, Xbox Series X and S as well. That's a big reduction considering it was sold for $40 with half the content on PlayStation and I believe Epic Games Store close to that when it released. Hence why you can see why I was always surprised it wasn't labelled early access, because it has had a few updates to really add and flesh out the experience and change really what the game had. So, sandbox mode, it was only available on the Epic Games Store kind of beta version of the game, so PlayStation fans even haven't had the chance to play it. Effectively, it will be able to keep playing endlessly. There's a story to Return to Moria. Eventually, you will hit kind of an end game point, but with the sandbox mode, it pretty much just goes on and on. It's kind of almost like a roguelike, where each one that you choose might be different. It's procedurally generated Return to Moria, most parts anyway. So the idea is that the deeper you delve, trying to get to the resources in Mithril and fighting enemies in the mines. Some may be a bit easier, some harder. They come almost like tile sets. It's something definitely you might want to try after you've gone through the main game if you enjoy it. And yep, they're going to be hosting 8-player sessions, and it says here on Xbox Series X and S, no limits. You might see me whinging and moaning about 7 Days to Die, seemingly not telling anyone that the Xbox Series S could only support 2 players while the Series X can support 4. Well, it's good to see that Return to Moria are doing a solid here. 8-player sessions, cross-play, whether you're on Steam, Epic, Xbox or PlayStation. That is a really big achievement for relatively a small game, even if it has got the big Lord of the Rings name behind it. So you know what, hand clap, yes. There's going to be 14 brand new weapons and armour, including a wolfskin hat, Gondolarian shield, Khazad halberd and Balacumulat. Only discoverable in sandbox mode. Players can bring new objects into campaign mode as long as their dwarf is equipped, then they're transferring over. So yes, you can transfer your dwarven character over between certain modes. We're going to have a whole bunch of new building pieces, apparently over 100 new objects, new cosmetic decorations, light fixtures, rugs, banners, home furnishings, tables and chairs. And they've made a lot of changes to the stability system. This was kind of frustrating to me while trying to build. It was just a bit too obnoxious. You couldn't really build something looking great or fantastic. It had to be quite functional. So it looks like it's going to have better of stability and better snapping too. And you can now pause. You can now play offline mode and hopefully pause the game if you have run into any trouble. They're doing a lot more ambient music, and they're making it so that you can change difficulty settings, either the enemy aggression, combat, horde, siege and patrol frequency, world, mining drops and survival. Huge ton of bug fixes, and you know what? Fair play. I was kind of very critical of it at release, hence why I ended up not doing a ton of guides. I did do a few when it launched, and I did put a ton of time into it, but it felt kind of lacking. I love the idea of diving back into the Lord of the Rings universe, and they had the lore right and everything else, it just was a bit boring. So I'm hoping with all these changes, all this content, and the ability to play with all sorts of friends across different platforms, it'll give me a perfect excuse to jump back in. Definitely the adage, a game better with friends, which normally means it's a bit rubbish, but you can get through it when you've got your friends joking around with you. Essentially, you start out and you have to basically reclaim the mines of Moria, diving deeper into more difficult areas, gathering precious resources and eventually mithril, fighting off various different types of orcs, more enemies and bosses as you try and get a foothold. You can base build pretty much anywhere, and it was pretty grindy in getting certain resources so that you could craft the best weapons and armour. It felt like a lot of the combat was a bit stiff and one note. You could go range, you could go melee, berserker, maybe a bit more tanky or light hitting. And again, all just depending on what weapons and armour you get. But again, so much of it was kind of grindy to get to, it felt often just not worth it. And there was various little bugs and issues where pretty much progression wasn't always given out properly. You didn't really know what you were doing sometimes, or finding the right path down to the next section that would progress the story. Did have some really cool concepts, the idea of singing sometimes that would give you a bit of a boost so that you can mine and do more damage, but equally that would alert more enemies. And the spawn rate of some enemies that would just continuously come around, they weren't always at the best. So as I said, they had a few major updates. They weren't like updating it every week. Instead, after the initial flurry of hotfixes, it took around 2 months for them to get a fairly decent chunky update out. They then had another second update, adding a bit more better content, a bit more polish to the progression. And then they pretty much said and announced that they were going to be doing a sandbox mode, but only for Epic Games with their PTR, the PTB public test branch version. But if it comes together, if they've got all these improvements like they've said, all these brand new build pieces, the crossplay, the launch, the cheap price, I think it's definitely going to be worth something to take a look at. The only sad thing is though, it's launching exactly the same day as Core Keeper launches on Xbox Series X and S, and Core Keeper leaving early access and going into 1.0 on Steam. Now Core Keeper does have something else going for it. It's a bit of a delay, but it will be appearing on Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Switch, but a few weeks later on September the 17th. Return to Moria will not be launching on older gen consoles. But no, fair play, this is a great announcement, coming earlier, even if it was originally late, it's still better than nothing. It seems like they really have taken the time to put some of the stuff that people really wanted. Hopefully it does prove good, and you know what, I'm going to do my best to cover it. It's a busy month, 7 Days to Die is still doing numbers, I've got the Defiance, I've got Dawn of Defiance, a Greek survival game coming out on the 15th. But by the time that's had a week or so in the limelight, I think it'll be a good time to show you guys Return to Moria again. So yeah, I'll be doing this and Core Keeper massively when these both release on the 27th of August. So until next time, ratbags, for more survival games news, make sure you got notification bell ding to come join my Discord to see more about survival games. I'll see you ratbags later.